to elect a chair. And at this time, I'd accept nominations for that position.
I nominate Kevin Hughes as chair of the board.
Second.
Is there any other nominations for the chair?
I'll move that we close nominations.
Hearing none. Kevin Hughes, are you accepting this position?
I will.
Those in favor of Kevin Hughes being the chair for this year's select board, say aye.
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 4-0. Jason, we still haven't heard from you. Are you working on your volume?
I'm trying.
There, we got you.
For you.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
So Kevin, I'm turning the meeting over to you.
Okay, so we'll proceed. You want me to proceed with the reorganization of the select board at this time?
Yes.
I will
the vice
now
chair.
take nominations for the vice chair.
I
And I
nominate
would,
Craig.
go ahead.
I second that.
Okay, we have a nomination of Craig for vice chair and a second. Any other nominations? Not seeing any further nominations. Craig, do you want to be vice chair?
Only if you don't ever miss a meeting. But yes, I'll do it.
That's a big request.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All those in favor of Craig as vice chair, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Craig is the vice chair. I will now, as we continue with the reorganization of the select board, take a nomination for the position of clerk.
I'll nominate Sue Harlow.
Second.
We have a nomination of Sue Harlow for clerk, and we have a second. Are there any other nominations for the position of clerk? Okay, seeing none. Sue, do you want to be the clerk?
Sure.
Okay, having accepted, Sue Harlow is now the clerk. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, Sue Harlow is now the clerk. The new positions will be recorded. Millie, you got everything? Thank you. I'll now move on to the adjustments to the agenda. Any adjustments?
I have none. To answer Millie's question, Daniel is David Major attending the meeting.
And also, we have another guest too.
Yes, I just got the question asked to me, so I just answered it.
Okay.
Also, forgive me if I just interject. I'm very sorry. I've blown a tradition here. Not surprising. I wanted to take this opportunity for all of us to welcome Jason Perry to the Select Board of Westminster.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Jason.
Yeah. Welcome aboard, Jason, really.
Thank you.
You know, by the time you get off, you'll be a grandfather like the rest of us. Just, you know.
My kid will be almost out of high school.
Oh, yeah. That's what Paul Harlow said to me when I first got on. He said, this is a job for his grandparents, not parents. So.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. Welcome, Jason. And I also wanted to take this time, again, forgive me for being dilatory, to thank Sheldon Beebe for his many years of service on this board. He's done a lot for this town, seen and unseen. And He will be missed, but not forgotten, and I'm sure available whenever we need him. And his service should be recognized. So thank you to Sheldon Beebe for all the work and dedication to the town over all these years.
Reed.
You know what, I'd like to also thank Sue Harlow for being chair. That was a tough year we went through with doing this Zoom and all this other stuff. I gotta thank you. You spent a lot of time on it, so.
Thank you. It was bruising, and I don't think it's over yet. So I think we need to give Kevin all the help he needs and wants as this goes along as a board, please.
John, I want to thank Sue also, and she knows for all the time and dedication and all the hard work she did. Just really amazing, especially all the help she gave me. And thank you also for a great job as the chair, keeping us all together. And a very difficult time,
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the, any more comments? Okay, moving on to the adjustments of the agenda. Are there any adjustments?
There is none.
We'll now accept motion to accept the agenda as submitted.
Minutes.
Minutes. My apologies.
I move we accept the minutes of the meeting of February 24th.
I'll second it.
Minutes have been motioned and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Minutes are accepted for February 24, 2021. Communication and public comments. Anything?
I have nothing.
Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to unfinished business. Town meeting procedure, rain date.
We were asked to reserve the institute for your town meeting on May 15th. And in that procedure, we needed to come up with a rain date if it was really, really heavy rain. And so talking with Susan, we have tentatively set up Sunday, May 16th, the next day at 1 p.m. Unless the board deems that not acceptable. I think that's where
Anyone in
we should be.
opposition? Any concerns over the rain date?
Why we picked the next day is because everything is going to be rented. It will be set up and porta potties rented, all of the sound system, etc. So to postpone it another whole weekend would not be as economically good as the next day.
Okay. Any other comments, concerns? We're all good on the day?
I am.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, very good. Moving on to possible website renewal.
Mr. Chairman, can I address that, please?
Sure.
We have started as a social media committee. Now we're calling the communications committee. Looking to update and make our website easier to navigate and use. And Russ Lazarak is helping us. We've hired him. He's also volunteering at the same time. And the committee met a week ago. Russ showed us some templates and we talked about some of the things that we want to see, easier navigation. We want more information on the website. We'd like a calendar, a history page. We'd like to make updating the information that's there easier and faster, and a few other things. So I think Russ got quite a lot of input, and we're going to meet again in a couple of weeks when Russ will have some more things for us to look at. Russ, did you want to step in? I think you're here. Or no?
No, I think you covered it well. Thanks.
Short and sweet. So if anybody has any, does anybody have any questions? I'll bring you more information as we go along. So thanks to Fran and Yvette and Lori and the other people who've been on the committee. That's been really helpful. Thanks.
Terrific. Thank you, Sue. Any more comments or none? Seeing none, we'll move on to the collaborative finance processing manual, AKA the third draft.
I've gone as far as I can with this without Paul Harlow adding input. So he's back. He's been quarantining and being tested. So I'm sure in the next, before the next meeting, we'll have input from him, and the fourth draft will be looking for additional comments for approval.
Okay. Very good. Any additional comments, concerns, or input regarding the finance processing manual? Seeing none, thank you, Russ, as always. We shall move on to new business. First draft of yearly appointments of record.
So in your packet is the list that we typically use. Those in red are still up in the air. We haven't contacted them yet, but we have the chair of the select board. We have the clerk for the select board. I don't have the activities commission, community improvement program. We have actually two members on video with us. Are you both still interested? Nate?
Are we on, which one are we on, activities?
Going down to the red, the community improvement program, Nate Stoddard, Fran Renault, and Peter Stam.
Okay, I didn't know where you skipped to, I got you.
Hearing nothing from Nate. Fran, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Are you still interested in serving on that board?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, Fran.
Or sorry, Russ. I spaced out there for a minute. Yeah, I'm still interested too.
Have you talked to Peter? Do you think he's still interested, Nate?
I have not talked with him. Communication with Peter is few and far between.
All right, I will call Peter and confirm that. Conservation Commission, actually, Kathy Kingston is working with them, so I will contact her to make sure that those 5 people are still active. Senior Solutions, I haven't done anything with, nor the CRV River Subcommittee. I need a representative to the DRB from the Select Board. Last year, and actually for many years, it's been Toby Young.
Fine with me.
Thank you, Toby.
Perfect. Fence viewers and inspector of wood and coal, I will get a hold of them. Planning Commission, I need a select board alternate.
I would do that if need be.
Jason, thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
The West Library representative, I will contact them. And Wyndham Regional Planning Commission, I know Bobby has been very active, but I will give her a call, and we're still looking for one other for that. So this is a great start. I'm not after an approval, but if you knew of anything or things I can add, please let me know as time goes by.
And thank you to everyone who has agreed to serve that's here tonight. Okay. Any other comments on the appointments of record?
Russ, you're gonna bring it back when we're all done so we can, as a board, pass the whole sheet, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Again, it's a work in progress. And when it gets to be completely recognized, I will bring it back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Russ. Any other comments? Okay, seeing none. Liquor renewal licenses, 2 of them.
In your packet, you have the 2. They look identical, but they are not. Westminster Station Market is the first one, and Allen Brothers is the second one. They have had their liquor licenses for multiple years and without incident. So what is your pleasure?
I move that we accept the liquor licenses, the 2 submitted to the board.
Second
I have
that.
a motion. We have a motion to accept the 2 liquor license renewal applications presented. In a second,
I second it.
seconded by Toby. Any objections? All those in favor say aye.
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 I'll recluse myself.
Craig is not voting.
Correct.
Russ, what is the
I was
deadline?
an aye.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
No.
Mr. Chairman,
that?
question. I have a chairman, question, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
What is the deadline? Is there a deadline, Russ, for,
There is license beginning May 1st, 2021, ending April 30th, 2022. So it must be May 1st.
May 1st? Okay, thank you.
Okay, the licenses are accepted into the record. Moving on to town land off Davidson Hill update.
We have some interest in the town land off Davidson Hill. We were kind of waiting for spring and it's getting there. We have about $7,950 into the land by cleanup and taxes. The land obviously is not worth that for a purchase price. It's 1 acre and it's very, very narrow. It would support a small home, a tiny house, or a cabin. And all of the people that are interested are either going to keep it as land or create a cabin on it. So I'm not after it tonight, but I'd like you to start thinking about what we would accept for an offer. It would be a auction through our legal counsel, and the interested parties would be asked to come, and it would be publicized, of course, so that we get as many participants as possible. And like I said, it would be an auction, but we do have to have a price, a minimum price. So something to start thinking about, more information to follow.
I'm sorry, Russ, you said we do have sunken costs into this.
We had
For
to
recovery?
tear down, for public safety, we had to tear down the trailer. And so the disposal of the trailer and the back taxes that we paid for is roughly $7,950.
Thank you.
So again, I will have the last tax card I will get all that information together, but this is just to get you leading in the right direction so that we can make a decision in the next month or so.
Did you,
Can I ask a question?
I'm sorry.
Okay. And if we do it, if we do it that way, can we actually have a number that we wouldn't take below? So in other words, we would entertain any bid over, let's say, $5,000 or something like that, in case nobody bids for it all and somebody bids $1. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, we have to have a minimum to cover our expenses.
Right.
The maximum, if it went to $10,000, we can't make any money.
I understand
We
that.
cover
Right.
our expenses. The rest would go to the family of William Trevaro.
So that's what I'm saying. If we set a, let's just, I'm picking a number, so don't think I'm for it, but that we wouldn't take, that's the most we can actually do 11 and somebody give it, but as a board, we would entertain any bid over $5,000 or something like that, just to cover ourselves. Is that the way it works? Or we set the minimum at the $9,500?
We set the minimum that you're willing to take for that land. It doesn't have to cover every expense, but it does have to cover the taxes, I would hope, which is only like $2,400 of that. So, and the maximum will be whatever they bid. And again, the town will cover its expenses, period. The rest would go to the William Trevaro estate.
Okay.
Any other questions or concerns at this meeting while we consider it? Thank you. Seeing none, we will move on. Select board appointment, interim 5-person board for the Westminster School District.
I'm hoping somebody's going to jump in and take the
Oh.
reins on this.
Oh, I thought you were going to. Well, we do have 5 people who have volunteered to be on the board. Do you have the list, or do you need me to?
Oh,
read
no,
them?
no. I wanted an explanation before we get to that point
Ah,
by
okay.
one of the people, but I can.
Well, they're here, so, okay.
David, Cheryl, one of you want to take a whack at it? Both of you? David, Major. Thank
Sure.
you, David.
Hi, hello everyone. Let's see. This is the result of the fact that the town of Westminster voted to withdraw from the district we were forced to merge with Athens and Grafton almost 2 years ago, the school district. And then at town meeting, Athens and Grafton voted to support that withdrawal, which would leave Athens and Grafton as their own district, somewhat similar to the way they have been running things for quite some years, because they run the Grafton school together. And it would leave, or it would essentially rebirth the Westminster School District. So at this point, as a result of the motion that our town voters passed back in the fall, we are now needing to set up an interim board. We can, which will then sort of affect the transition between the forced to merge board and the new town board, and it will also be responsible for making a presentation to the State Board of Education, detailing the fact that the Westminster School meets all the requirements of the state requirements for public education, and making the case for the town school district. And then that interim board will be working until a permanent board is elected at our town meeting scheduled for May 15 in a couple of months. So, and that will be a time when anyone else who may develop an interest in running for a school director position may run and be elected by whomever attends the town meeting on May 15 or maybe May 16. So I hope that clarifies where we're at.
I have a question.
I was going to ask a question on the procedure of David, because always those town meetings, we don't do Australian ballot unless somebody asks you to stand up. But normally when you're electing officers, you do an Australian ballot. How will that work on town meeting?
It would be you're right, it would not be, in this particular case, it would not be an Australian ballot. It would be a vote from the floor of the town meeting.
Michael,
I can see
go
that
ahead,
working if there are more than 5, if we have a contest, for instance. Same way.
There will be positions for 1 year, for 2 years, and for 3 years. And I think that we would then accept nominations for 1 year positions, for 2 year positions, for 3 year positions. And then whomever gets the most number of votes for each of those positions would be the school director or school directors for those positions. Thinking off the top of my head.
Right, and so it would be people standing up or say all in favor of Joe over here and all in favor of Jim over there, or haven't figured that out yet.
Right. Well, that we'll need to devote a little thought to that, and maybe we'll want to have the ability to do a paper ballot of the people.
You always can at those town meetings. What is it? It's only going to take like so many people to raise a hand, and you have to have a paper ballot. You could get people to pass it that way.
Yeah. And it's entirely possible there will not be any contested positions, but if there is, then we'll want to be able to deal with it. You're right.
Hey, this is Cynthia. Can I jump in, Kevin? Can I?
By all means.
So the warning is on, or the article is on the town meeting warning. Our town meeting isn't until May. So how can you appoint interim right now? Don't you have to wait until our town meeting to actually fill these positions? I mean, I don't understand how we're doing this now. And was the interim question advertised that you were looking for people to fill those interim positions?
Yes. Can I speak to that, Kevin? Because
please, go ahead.
Yeah, because we had a short amount of time, we didn't put it in the newspaper, but we did put it on the website and on Facebook at Front Porch Forum, and Larry Mason said that would be adequate for the interim board, of course, not for the permanent.
So we knew in January that we were going to need 5 people for this board because there was an article put on the warning. Why wouldn't you have let people put in their names and have it be done by Australian ballot, just like all the other positions in town? It feels like a little bit like to me that we're putting in 5 people now, and you know what's going to happen. Those 5 people are going to come to town meeting and no one's, I mean, I don't know. It feels very odd to me. Like it's already been predetermined who's going to be in there. A little bit. I just don't understand why those weren't voted Australian ballot, just like the rest of the elected positions in town.
I think, Cynthia, if you don't mind, Kevin, if I jump in.
By all means.
It was a moot point until Athens and Grafton voted in favor of the withdrawal. If either one or both towns had not voted in favor of the withdrawal, there would be no board. So and when the Westminster motion was developed, we didn't know whether Athens and Grafton would be voting in January or February or at town meeting in March. So I think that explains why there couldn't have been an interim board voted by Australian ballot at our first town meeting in a few days ago or a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So what is the purpose of having to have this board together in the next 45 days? Why don't we just wait until town meeting? Then people have fair warning that if they want to, I mean, I'm not expecting a huge rush of people to come out and say they want to be on it, but I think that they have to have the chance to know that it's available. But
I agree, and I would like to make sure that as many people as can who have any sort of interest would like or have an ability to at least try for the positions. The reason why it's important to get started on this work is because now we've approved a new town district. I think none of us know, does that town district then have begin starting at the next fiscal year, July 1, in which case there's all kinds of work that needs to happen. Does it not start until a year from that? And when will the State Board of Education have put it on their agenda for okaying or considering this withdrawal? And so those questions are ones that I think need to be dealt with fairly quickly, or certainly we need to have a group of people ready to deal with them as they come up.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So at one of the meetings that I did actually attend, that the Board of Education breaks for summer, and they said that there was not going to be a decision until August. Is that not correct?
I don't know.
Then if it's, let's say it's August, just for the sake of talking, why wouldn't the interim board be the body that brings us into the next school year, and then actually at our regular town meeting in March, then as Cynthia said, names could be on a ballot and chosen as we always do? Why are we forcing May 15th permanent board vote when we don't know if we even need it yet?
They're good questions. I think that I think at this point there are a bunch of unknowns, and we need to be prepared with a body of people who can deal with those unknowns. And the unknowns include, when does the town has voted to have its own school district now. That's been okayed by Athens and Grafton. When is the start date of that school district? And then the other question is how quickly do we need to, one of the other questions and unknowns is how quickly do we need to start working on putting together a presentation for the State Board of Education. And Russ, it sounds as though you have some information on that I I do not have, but or did not have. But those are the questions that I have, and I'm curious, Cheryl, whether you have anything to add to this conversation.
Right, if I may, Chairman Kevin Hughes, if I can make a couple of comments, I'd be happy to do so.
By all means.
So to add a little bit of information, I'm thinking about some of the questions we've had this evening. Keep in mind that the current board that governs the school in Westminster also governs the school in Athens and Grafton. We have currently in existence the Westminster Athens Grafton Unified Forced Merged School District. That school district stays with authority until the State Board of Education votes to approve Westminster's withdrawal. So there is current governance under the auspices of the Westminster Athens Grafton School Board. I personally have served as an elected member of either the Westminster Board or now this Forced Merger Board for 6 years. So on the March 2nd ballot, I was elected for another 2-year term to serve on the three-town board. For everyone's information, Melissa Karlstrom was elected in the last balloted election for a 2-year term. She has 1 year left. The 5 people who are willing to serve on this interim board, which has no authority really until and unless the State Board of Education does approve Westminster's withdrawal, that 5-person board then, the people who have been willing to serve are me as a currently elected member of the Forced Merged District, Melissa, a currently elected member, and 3 people who were all elected at the last in-person town meeting to be advisors, what we called at that time town school board advisors, members of the community who were willing to be advisors. So those 3 people are among the 3 who stepped up to be on this interim board. Reinforcing what David said, we have been told by legislators in the state that the sooner we can get to the attention of the State Board of Education to take action, the better, because it's not clear that they will willingly vote to approve this withdrawal. And so remembering again also that in the election where Westminster voted to withdraw, Westminster voters also approved having the town select board establish an interim board. So we're following through on what the townspeople voted to do. That's what's going on here now. And this interim board would only step in for this transition process. I wasn't involved in the discussion about whether to elect a permanent board on May 15. I think that would be the right of the town to do so, and could do so from a floor vote, as David has suggested. That's certainly within practice and law. And yet everybody needs to remember that that board still has no authority until the State Board of Education takes action. And so governance will continue under the auspices of the 3-town board until that occurs. I hope that's helpful.
Yes, thank you for that very clear, concise, and coherent synopsis. Is there any public comment on both David Major's and Cheryl Charles' comments tonight from members of the public that are here that wish to be heard? Okay. Now, in the packet tonight, there was a document from Larry Slayson that was sent to Sue Harlow. I don't know, Sue, did you want to talk about that?
This is the discussion of the vote. Yeah, I think we just went over that. We had some discussion about exactly what that article meant as an English major. I felt that it could be interpreted either way, that we would either schedule the vote on May 15th or schedule it for the 15th. Anyway, but we decided to interpret it, say that the vote will be scheduled on May 15th. And I think I was curious, so I asked Larry whether we could have a floor vote or it had to be Australian ballot, which in some ways would be preferable, but we'd really be burdening our town clerks who have had innumerable elections this year. Okay, that's just a slight exaggeration. But if we could do it from the floor, I think that would be preferable. And he said that we could do it. So I think is that what you're talking about, Kevin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And his comment that, as long as the voters were notified in some fashion to solicit interest, to make sure that it was fairly enunciated to the most amount of people if they were interested.
For the interim board. For the interim board.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
There'll be more legal warning, I'm sure, for the May 15th election.
Can I ask a question?
By all means.
I think what messes me up when you say a school board instead of a school board advisory school board, it then makes it sound like you're advisory, which is what you're basically saying. Because when I kept saying school board, how are we going to end up with two school boards and who's going to resign over the other one? And it does make sense if they're just advisory. Too bad we couldn't have the word in there, because it would actually, people wouldn't understand what that board was all about at then, that they were just advisory school board. Just my input.
Kevin, could I jump in?
Please.
Craig, it is a good point that you make. However, the board that is elected by the townspeople in May could become the actual board 2 days later if the State Board of Education okays the reestablishment of the Westminster Town School District. So I don't think we'd want to elect them as advisors when it's entirely possible, if not likely, that at some time during their term, they will become the board.
Well, that's my point. We're not electing, we're appointing them. So as a select board, we're going to appoint them with no terms, other than the term would expire in May 15th when it gets done. And so to me, that's what I'm saying. You're appointing a Westminster School Board Advisory or a Westminster Advisory Board, but whatever. But we are appointing them. We're not elected.
I'm happy with the term interim, so.
I'm fine. As long as everybody knows their mission is to be advisories, I have no problem with that.
Craig, forgive the interruption, would the specifically stating that there will be the interim board as appointed will be in an advisory position only through May 15th, 2021?
I understand what David's saying. If the state came along and accepted it, I guess they would then become the board at that point. This is really kind of different, because I don't ever remember appointing somebody to a board and then it becomes an official board.
Can I say something? I think the interim board is not going to become the permanent board. The interim board is just serving until the permanent board is elected in May. And I sort of have a problem with the word advisory, because who are they advising?
Good question. The regular school board.
Interim means a certain amount of time, then they're done.
But except that they have no rulership over the regular school board. That's when she explained it that way, that I'm comfortable with that. But if you're on the other board, you're going like, well, now are they telling me what I can do? No, they're only there to help advise that board, because that board is still running the school. If I was the superintendent or the principal, I would ask those questions. Which board is telling me what to do? And that's all I was bringing up. She explained it real well. I understand it now. I would just want to say, okay, if we appoint this board, they realize that they're there to be advisories to the regular school board that is still proceeding, that's still running the school, they're still telling the principal what to do, and still working with the superintendent's office.
I think that some of you are the same members anyway, right? So you'd be telling yourselves what to do. But whatever.
If I can suggest, this is Cheryl again. What is the language that we the voters voted for? I would refer to the language that was in the articles that the voters passed. I think it might have been interim board, but if we could check that language, that would make sense.
Yeah.
The documents that I'm reading off provided for this evening comes from Town Council Leonard Slason, and states the following: the voters approved Articles 1 and 3 at the special Australia ballot meeting of January 5th, 2021. Upon approval of Article 2, the Select Board has authority to appoint 5 town residents to an interim school board to serve until town election of school board members at the annual meeting scheduled for May 15th, 2021. Article 17 of the warning for annual meeting approved by the Select Board on January 13th, 2021 asks the voters to elect 5 residents to serve as board members with staggered terms as existed prior to the forced merger. The election will occur on May 15th, 2021. Does anyone have any other providence that would contravene that statement?
I have the ballot in front of me right this second, and it's Article number 2, number 3, appoint 5 town residents to an interim town school district board to effect the transition and return of the operation of schools and educational programs to the town school district.
I'll go back to what I keep saying. I had no problem, but when I sat down tonight and I read all this ahead of time, I thought we were appointing a school board that was actually going to instantly take over and run the school of Westminster. And now I'm understanding a little clearer, but even everything I read, it just made it sound like this school board is now officially starting up and they're going to take over. And then after listening to her, I realized that no, they're not. They're only being advisory. And like I said, it isn't like I didn't read this. I read it thinking that, hey, after tonight, this new board starts up because we just appointed 5 people to this new Westminster school board. They have nothing to do with Athens and Grafton. I know that, but they would actually be now having meetings to run the school of Westminster, but I have no problem with it.
Okay, good.
Any further discussion then, or are we comfortable with where we're at?
We're done.
Okay, do we need a motion?
Motion to. What is the motion that we need?
You need to appoint the 5 interim
Right
board
now.
person board, and you should name the names.
All right.
And if I may, I just, for Craig's point, I'd like what Russell, with the prerequisite of what was voted specifically out of Article 2 that Russell read as to why we're making this appointment.
Okay.
Interim appointment.
I'll be willing to make that motion. I move that we appoint 5 town residents: Melissa Carlstrom, Elise Manning, Vanessa Stern, Charles Hutchison, and Cheryl Charles to an interim town school district board to effect the transition and return of the operation of schools and educational programs to the town school district.
I'll second it.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any more commentary?
One quick question. Where did the 5 names? Was there only 5 names?
There are 5 names were submitted, and I believe, Russ, you did not hear from anyone else who wanted to put their name in. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment, concern, public comment? See, yes, go ahead, David.
Just thank you to those 5 people for volunteering to do this work.
Absolutely, and thank you and Cheryl and everyone else for all the work you've done throughout this whole process. Okay.
I would, Kevin, this is Cheryl, just another quick comment. I think it's, I believe that it's necessary that we have this kind of commitment from the town of Westminster to be able to go to the State Board of Education and say that we have an interim board here, or if it turns out we have a permanent board by that time. The State Board not only wants to see that there is quality education provided here, but they want to see the kind of willingness to serve. And so you're taking this action tonight following a vote of the people to instruct you to do that. Is much appreciated, and I think it will really help in this process going forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Charles. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Manager's report.
Just a few things. We are cracking down on the trash and recycling program. We are not changing any of the rules. We are just enhancing them, trying to make sure that everyone is following suit. We have found that people are mixing their trash and recycling. They're not placing them in lidded containers. They're ripping the tags in half and putting half on a bag. And a lot of trash is being generated by businesses and brought home because it's expensive to get rid of. So we are cracking down the violations. We've got a tag that we placed on the bags and on your recycling container for the last week. We will keep this up for about a month and make sure that everybody's back into compliance, because it's too expensive not to follow the rules. Pavement bids. I'm sorry,
Russ. Is there a list of the costs and penalties that are associated with these violations?
No, there's no penalties other than they're not being picked up. They're left right at the curb. So people are calling us and complaining that they got a violation. And I've never done this, and it's like, that doesn't make it right. This is the rules, and this is why we did this. This is why we spent so much time with the program trying to keep it affordable.
Oh, very good, and thank you for your follow through and effort.
Mr. Chair, if I may, Nate Stoddard.
Please go ahead, Nate.
Along with that, I know the select board just extended the 3-year contract for a year. I would urge the select board to keep this in the back of your minds that next year, maybe revisit some of these rules. The lidded thing is a little extreme. If you drive around anywhere, especially Brattleboro, you'll see recyclables just in recycling containers out in the open. I think it's a little picky, but whatever. And maybe think about a second option for stickers. It's a little counterintuitive to put 2 13-gallon trash bags, non-compostable 13-gallon trash bags, into a 30-gallon non-compostable trash bag just to put 1 sticker on instead of 2 stickers. So I'm wasting more plastic So maybe something to think about for next contract, a second sticker option for smaller bags, and maybe a little more ease to recycling, as most of my recycling does not fit in my 50-gallon lidded trash can every week.
Just to clarify the one point, that you can tie two 16-gallon bags together and not put it in a third bag with one tag. That has been part of our program since the start. You can tie them together in one tag as long as they meet the requirements of 30 pounds or 33 gallons.
Oh, good to know. Thank you. The other point is it talks about wrapped around the neck. Drawstring bags, you don't get a neck.
Just around the strings is all we ask. What's happening is they're wrapping them in tight little circle, and you can't tell if it's a whole tag or not a whole tag. And we're finding that they're ripping them in half, and that's why they're doing it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nate, thank you for your input and your wise observations. We'll take that under advisement. Continuing with the manager's report.
Pavement bids are due on Friday. We've had quite a few companies show interest, which is great. That will be in front of you next meeting. A delinquent tax reminder, they're being mailed out tomorrow for all of the folks that still owe. That is the first mailing. The second mailing will be a tax sale notice for those who have 2 years or more on roughly March 25th. All 2-year delinquent tax parcels that have not attempted to pay or request will be handed over to Larry Slason's office on April 9th. So if they're 2 years or more and they have contacted the town and created a contract or a payment schedule, they will not be on that list. If you do not contact this office with any attempt to make payments, then your parcel will be sent to Salmon and Nostrum's office, like I said, on April 9th. Tax sale will be at the beginning of July to mid-July of 2021. Questions?
I have a quick question. We were looking at a bit of an impact on tax receipts this year because of COVID-19.
We have had some, but most people that have had an issue have called. And we've already made pacts to pay in increments that they can afford.
Okay, and I think we all appreciate that greatly. And I know you're very busy. Is it possible for us to have the board be given sometime in the interim short future, some type of a look, Russ, as to how shallow we are and what level of forgiveness we're giving? That way we can be just a little bit, that we can be sensitive to what's going on out there, please.
Sure, absolutely. You got one,
Okay.
I think 2 meetings ago, and I'll give you the update of how we're doing on it.
Thank
the
you
last
very
thing
much.
is with the new year coming up and new select board members in your packet, I gave you new and returning select board members class. If anybody's interested, you don't have to let me know right now, but just give me a call. It is via Zoom, of course, and the topics include legal requirements, open meeting law, public records, conflict of interest, Dillon's rules, relationship of select board with town employees and their officials, key municipal employment laws, and human resources best practices. It's from VLCT, and
There wasn't a date on that, was there, Russ? I didn't see.
I don't see one either.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. If you could find that out, that would be great.
I surely will. Find out the date. Hey,
Thank you.
I wonder if it's not Zoom, if it's just like a webinar or something like that.
Right.
it would be, and it will, but it will be, of course, in a classroom with speakers, et cetera. So I will find out the date and get it back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's it.
Boards and commissions.
The Planning Commission is planning on a subcommittee meeting on March 15th. That's next Monday night at 7 o'clock. They would like participation from other boards and commissions to weigh in on their event that they're going to have with community mapping. If anybody is interested, I will forward the link to you. But again, it's Monday night, the 15th, at 7 p.m. And they would like select board presence if possible.
Well, why don't you just forward it to all of us?
I can do that. I will do that. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you. Other business.
Before we get to the last one, what we didn't do is we normally have a quick discussion on, are we still gonna hold all these meetings so we can actually get it out for the calendar? Are we still gonna hold these on Wednesday? We used to be on Tuesday. We used to be at 7 o'clock. I don't have a opinion, but especially now we get a new board member, I think we should just have a quick discussion that we're gonna either hold these meetings all the same date and time or change it.
Thanks, Craig. Let's do that. Is Wednesday still good for everybody?
Kevin, I from the beginning I preferred Tuesday, but I think there was some conflict, and so Wednesday is okay. Although I prefer Tuesday.
I don't remember what the conflict is, but I can do
There's a
Tuesday.
conflict for me on Tuesdays, but
You had a class or something.
yeah, I could, if we did it at 7 o'clock, it would be fine.
Then we like 6:30 better. So
Well,
that's-
if we're on Zoom, I could do it at 6:30 on Tuesday too.
yeah, we're not going to be on Zoom forever though. So yeah, I guess I vote to keep it on Wednesday unless somebody else has a problem.
I guess
Jason?
we should ask Jason.
Jason?
I don't have any issue with date or time really. Later is better for me, but I'm good with either way.
I'm good at 6:30. It works a little handier for me, to be honest with you.
Okay, so
I'm happy with all Wednesdays at 6:30. I just wanted to make sure we're all in agreement.
no, and you're absolutely right. That is that's what's done every year at this time. So thank you for doing that, sir. So we will remain, unless otherwise posted, at Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. For our select board meetings every other week. Agreed?
Yes.
I'm good.
It's not every other week, though. It's the
Yes.
second and fourth Wednesdays.
Yeah. Thank you, Toby. Any other business?
Kevin, this is Cynthia. I have something I wanted to ask.
By all means.
So I have heard, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know that I heard it tonight, but that our assistant treasurer, Susie, has resigned. Is that the case?
I was not appraised of that.
Russ?
I'm assuming
Right.
yes. I haven't got the word from Paul. I have not talked to Paul, but I am assuming that that is correct.
Okay, so I was just curious. So I guess maybe when that becomes more permanent I I just want to say that with the limited interaction that we had with her at NIMRIC, she was doing a great job. So I just wanted to say that I'm sorry to hear that might be a possibility, but I was just curious what the thoughts were because we need somebody in there. I know that Paul's back, but so I was just curious what was going on with it because it wasn't mentioned.
Thank you, Cindy. And that's what other business is for. We're lucky to have you to bring that up. Is there any discussion on that at the moment? Since is that official, Russ?
Again, it's not official to me.
Okay.
I don't know the particulars.
Okay. So that's all something for us to think about. And as soon as we do get the particulars, Russell, is it okay to ask you to let us know?
Absolutely. I'll be in touch with Paul shortly.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Any other business? Seeing none.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning until our next meeting, March 24th at 6:30, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Thank you all. Thank you, Sue.